People tell me that one of the best attributes of my YouTube channel is my ability to show you my mistakes and mishaps when I go flying.
There's 60.
Here I'm setting off from Biggin Hill Airport near London to Turweston Aerodrome in Buckinghamshire. It was a pleasant flight with good visibility and not much cloud, but it was a little breezy. All was going well until I came to join the circuit. All good pilots strive to demonstrate the very best standards of airmanship at all times, and so when I fell short of those high standards during this flight, I was embarrassed to say the least. I'll take you through my mistakes one by one.
Four North, Golf Charlie Echo India Zulu, squawking 0430, 3,200 feet, 1006.
There was nothing wrong with my flight planning or preparation. These were mistakes that developed in the air, critically as I approached to land.
006, basic service, Golf India Zulu.
I'd carefully studied the charts and information for Turweston, as I hadn't been there before. I knew from reading the Pooley's flight guide and looking at the aerodrome's website that there were noise abatement areas to the south. The flight guide said that aircraft operations to the south should be minimised. As I was approaching from the south, this left me wondering how to arrive. I put a question out on my Facebook page. Helpfully, one of my followers came up with a suggestion, which was effectively a modified crosswind join, avoiding the noise-sensitive areas. Here was the first lapse of airmanship. I'd applied for PPR online, but why didn't I call up the aerodrome for a briefing from them directly?
Western Radio, Golf Charlie Echo India Zulu, inbound from the southeast.
So I called in as I'd approached, and because I'd heard someone doing a standard overhead join, maybe this was possible after all.
Joining for runway 27 right, 9 and 9 3. And does the standard overhead work there? I note you've got quite a bit of noise abatement to avoid.
Yep, noise abatement is, it's mainly for the helicopters on the southern side, so a standard overhead works perfectly.
Okay, I'll make a standard overhead. We're 11 miles now southeast. Golf India Zulu.
Roger.
So now I've decided to do a standard overhead join, and I've communicated that to everyone. The thing is, a standard overhead join takes time. From the south, I'd have to overfly the aerodrome 2,000 feet above it. I'd then have to circle back to the dead side, descend, join crosswind, then follow the circuit around to land. That would have been a right faff. So as I got closer, I changed my mind, and I thought I'd cut down that procedure and descend on the dead side right away.
So I'm not actually going to do a standard overhead join actually. I'm going to just descend on the dead side. Golf India Zulu, dead side, descending.
This wasn't the crime of the century, but it was suboptimal airmanship. Why? Well, I told everyone over the radio what I was going to be doing, and then I've changed my mind at the last minute. Furthermore, it hasn't given me enough time to evaluate what's going on in the circuit, and the consequence of that will become clear. Because I've rushed things to try and save time and money, I've not developed a proper picture of what's going on. I miss this call from another aircraft.
Romeo Kilo's files, touch and go 27.
Romeo Kilo, Roger, 320 degrees, 10 knots.
Roger.
That aircraft is going to be landing and then immediately taking off again. And because of the timing that all of this is happening as I'm arriving, I'm going to be on the crosswind leg, passing the upwind leg of the runway as that aircraft is on the crosswind leg climbing out. And because I've rushed things, I'm not situationally aware. So I blunder on into the circuit. I'm looking, but I don't see any other traffic. And then I hear this.
Golf Romeo Kilo, downwind, touch and go.
Why can't I see him?
You can see from my reaction that this came as a surprise to me. So now the whole thing is starting to unravel. I've put myself in conflict with another aircraft in the circuit. I can't see them, and that's all I can think about.
Golf India Zulu, late downwind runway 27 to land, contact 1 ahead.
Eventually I see the other aircraft, which was a huge relief, but because I've been preoccupied with my errors so far, I've now forgotten that Turweston has an offset final approach to avoid a farm on the extended centreline. My concentration is so focused on the other aircraft now that I don't remember to avoid it until the last minute. It was all catching up with me. I was flustered in the circuit, I'd rushed things, and I'd failed to comply with the noise abatement procedures. I was on short final, coping with a rather sporty breeze, and I'd gone into tunnel vision, focusing on that aircraft ahead of me that was going to do a touch and go. But things are about to get even worse.
Golf Lima Kilo, short files, touch and go.
I'm stuck in that tunnel vision, focusing on the aircraft ahead of me doing its touch and go.
I ballsed up the approach there, it's meant to be an offset approach.
Western, good morning, November 55.
But I was focusing so much on that traffic ahead.
The wind is a little challenging, and after selecting full flaps I changed my mind and reduced to 2 stages of flap. I'm all over the place. With all this going on, I've forgotten a very important step.
Got quite a crosswind.
I've landed, I'm taxiing to parking, I'm home and dry. But I'd failed to call final. What an utter idiot I am. But before you shout at the screen, remember this was an air-to-ground aerodrome. Pilots are in charge on the air and on the ground. No ATC clearance is required to land. But failing to call final, well, that's unforgivable. And how had that happened? It all came down to my last-minute decision to rush things, to cut a corner to save time and money. It was bad airmanship. Pure and simple. Can you honestly say that you haven't tried to cut a corner at one time or another? Sure, if it's an aerodrome that you know really well and it's good weather, then why not? But for me, this was an unfamiliar aerodrome with an unconventional circuit. I should have taken my time and executed my original plan that I'd communicated to everyone over the radio. It's by filming these flights that I can debrief and pick up on my errors. I make the mistakes, so you don't have to. If you want to see the full flight from Biggin Hill to Turweston, it's available to my premium supporters now. Details of how to join are on my website. Thank you to these generous followers who've recently signed up. Until next time, fly safely, my friends.